You know, there are artists who make music, and then there are artists who change music forever. Michael Jackson was one of those. He was an absolute global phenomenon. So today, we're going to break down his incredible life and career. Let's get right into it.
But before we jump all the way back to the beginning, it's really important to understand the scale of what we're talking about here. He wasn't just a pop star. He earned the title King of Pop. And that wasn't just some catchy nickname. It perfectly captured his just total dominance and influence over the entire world of music. So here's how we're going to look at his life. First up, his journey from Gary, Indiana to global stardom. Then we'll hit the Thriller revolution, a total game changer. After that, we'll explore the more complex side of his life. And finally, we'll talk about the unforgettable legacy he left behind.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. Our story kicks off in Gary, Indiana with a working-class family. And it's right here that a young boy with just this unbelievable raw talent set out on a path that would literally take him from a small local stage to, well, global superstardom.
And what's just wild is how fast it all happened. I mean, think about this. He was born in 1958. By the time he's 6, he's the lead singer of the Jackson 5. A few years later, 1969, they've got a deal with the legendary Motown Records. And then, get this, by 1972, he's only 14 years old and he already has a #1 solo hit. I mean, that's the definition of a prodigy.
Okay, so now we're moving into the era that really, truly cemented his legend. Because at this point, it wasn't just about making hit songs anymore, not even close. This was about Michael Jackson completely rewriting the rulebook for what it even meant to be a pop star.
And a lot of people think the revolution started with Thriller, but it actually kicked off a little earlier with his 1979 masterpiece, Off the Wall. That album was huge. It made him the first solo artist ever to get 4 top 10 hits from one album. He was basically just warming up, setting the stage for something nobody was ready for.
And then came Thriller. And really, this number right here says it all. 8. 8 Grammy Awards in one night, including the big one, Album of the Year. This wasn't just a successful album. It was a cultural earthquake that shattered every record in its path and became the best-selling album of all time. Period.
But the thing about Thriller is its impact went way beyond just the music you heard on the radio. See, back then, a music video was kind of just a commercial for the song. Michael Jackson looked at that and said, "No way." He turned it into a full-blown cinematic event. The Thriller video, that wasn't just a music video, it was a short film. And honestly, the entire industry changed overnight because of it.
And that just shows you his genius as a total performer, right? It was never just about the voice. It was about the movement. And nothing illustrates that better than the Moonwalk. It became his signature. This move that it looked impossible. It completely mesmerized everyone on the planet and became one of the most iconic pieces of pop culture ever.
So as his fame just exploded to these just unimaginable levels, that line between his public persona and his private life started to get really, really blurry. This next phase of his life, it's a mix of incredible artistic highs, but also some really intense personal challenges and just constant public scrutiny.
I mean, even well into the 90s, his power on stage was just undeniable. Just think about his Super Bowl halftime show in '93. That wasn't your average halftime show. It became this massive global television moment that completely reset the standard for what a live performance could be. It drew one of the biggest TV audiences in history. He just owned that stage.
But alongside all that incredible success, his later years were also shaped by some very serious controversies. His career was heavily impacted by Epstein accusations, which led to a civil settlement back in 1993, and then, a few years later, a full criminal trial in 2005, where it's important to note he was acquitted of all charges.
And during this whole time, of course, his personal life was under a microscope. He married Lisa Marie Presley in 1994. After they split, he married Debbie Rowe, and they had his first 2 children, Prince and Paris. And then his third child, who he famously nicknamed Blanket, was born in 2002.
And something else that was a constant source of media fascination, of course, was his changing appearance. For his part, Jackson always maintained that his lighter skin wasn't a cosmetic choice. He stated it was a result of a skin disease called vitiligo, which is a medical condition that causes the skin to lose its pigment.
So when you take all of this into account, these incredible soaring highs and these really profound lows, How do you even begin to sum up the legacy of someone so monumental and honestly so complex? Well, maybe the best way is to just look at the facts.
Okay, this right here is pretty incredible because it shows just how rare of an artist he was. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame not once but twice. First with his brothers for all their groundbreaking work in the Jackson 5, and then again all on his own as a solo artist who completely turned the industry on its head.
And the numbers themselves, they're just staggering. We're talking over 500 million records sold. That makes him one of the best-selling artists in history. 13 Grammy Awards. But maybe, just maybe, the most important part of his legacy is how he's credited with smashing racial barriers, especially on platforms like MTV, which really opened the door for so many artists who came after him.
And then, tragically, his story came to a sudden end. On June 25, 2009, at just 50 years old, Michael Jackson passed away. And what's so wild is that he was right in the middle of these intense rehearsals for what was supposed to be a massive comeback tour, a concert series called This Is It. So you've got this child prodigy who becomes a global icon, but at the same time remains a total enigma to so many people. His artistry, his music, that's undeniable, but his life was incredibly complex and, yes, controversial. And all of that leaves us with this one big lingering question. How will history really, truly remember the King of Pop?